to be millionaire in all 6 aspects of health. That's right, every week we share tips to improve your physical, intellectual, social, spiritual, obviously your financial, and like this week, we're going to do your mental health. Today's episode is focusing on how to improve your mental health by asking for help. Fascinating. And I think it's a hot topic right now in this time of society. If you have never seen Millionaires Are Made, this is the show built on the fundamental belief that every person you meet knows something you don't, and there's something to be learned from everyone in this big, beautiful world. We are on a mission here at Millionaires Are Made to teach the world how to grow into the healthiest, happiest millionaires in all 6 aspects of life. So today we went out and got 3 awesome guests to give you 3 awesome tips on how to improve your mental health by asking for help. And in the spirit of authenticity, to try to remove as much bias as possible, we do not talk about tips or advice before the show starts in the green room. So it's going to be as real and authentic as possible when our guests come out and give you their advice. It's going to be our first time hearing it first. Yeehaw! Audience, this is an interactive show. Feel free to comment, ask questions. We will actually ask them live on air to our guests, and you can get your real answer, get your questions answered right then and there. Um, this is the time in our show that we like to do our follower shout outs. So if you don't follow us, now's the time to click that follow button, see if you can get shouted out our next show. On Facebook, Mark Overton, thank you so much. You rock. Instagram, David C. Alcott, you are a great follower. We love you. On TikTok, Battle Fitted Veteran Mindset Brand. Awesome. Don't know who you guys are, but I would love if you came on our show. And on YouTube, John Olson, you're awesome. Thank you guys for subscribing. Yeehaw. If you want to be a guest on our show, it's so easy, and we know you have something to share. The link is dropping right now. Just click it, click guest, fill out the form, and we'll get you on one of our shows. We definitely want you on. We want every guest, we want everyone in the world to be a guest because everyone's got something to share. So our mission is just to have 7 billion guests throughout our show, and that starts with you. Sign up today. If you're going through life and you're not 100%, which is pretty much all of us at all times, maybe mentally you're a little behind, maybe physically your diet's not working out, maybe financially you're a little tough. If you have a topic idea, we want to hear it. We will do all the work, find 3 guests, get you 3 awesome tips to help you get through that little rut in life. Couple more things before we bring on our first guest. If you like what we do, obviously it's 2025. Please hit that like button, share, subscribe, comment, whatever it is. Engagements are our currency nowadays. And so to help us keep the show going, we would love to have some of those interactions. I spend a lot of time giving back, and this show is one of the many things I love to do. I also do free consulting and free coaching. If you would like to see if I can help you in any way, in anything, I spend pretty much my entire life learning as much as I can. We're dropping that link right now, growwithaustin.com. Would love to hang out with you and talk one-on-one, completely free, and see if I can help you do anything. Whew. All right. We've also got merchandise now. If you want to be part of the Millionaires Are Made army, I don't know. I just made that up on the spot. Grab a shirt, grab a hat. We've got some awesome merch out there. Start spreading the word on how to grow and make the world a better place. And before our first guest comes, we got to shout out some of our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Brian Wright. If you want to get your brand in front of high-level entrepreneurs and personal growth leaders, reach out to Brian at the Ultimate Achievers magazine, where industry icons meet a content-first audience. Brian is amazing at helping you write books, helping you build your brand. He's got an awesome podcast too. Go check Brian out. Our next sponsor is Sarah Jones, who used to be buried in debt and having a failing marriage, and at some point said this is enough. Left all the big name debt financial coaches and created her own and learned her own financial foundation, and now travels the U.S. with her husband in his like 7,000 foot RV and teaches everyone basic financial freedom, building blocks, and guiding couples, individuals, and small businesses to build fun, healthy money habits. So if your money isn't quite right, go check Sarah out. Next up, for those that are getting a little wild, there's a huge transfer of wealth in this world. All the baby boomers are selling their businesses because they're retiring. And so who was going to buy them? Well, could be you with Biz by Right, the matchmaking service for people who love buying and selling businesses. They find cash flowing deals, vet them with AI wizardry, and connect buyers and sellers faster than you can say due diligence. Go check bizbuyright.com out, and your wallet will thank you. And our final is one of our favorite guests, Brian Parana. Brian is a husband, father of four, and founder of The Call to Rise, helping busy men reclaim their health, energy, and confidence through simple, sustainable systems that fit real life. Go check him out and say hi. And that brings us to our first guest, the infamous Angela. Angela, tell us, who are you?
Hey, Austin, thank you so much for having me on your show again. I have been watching you for many years now, so congratulations on the success of the show. Who am I? I am a woman who's empowered. I help other women
Nice.
become empowered mentally with their finances, specifically with insurance, to make sure that women, especially post divorce, are in a financial situation that feels right to them.
Fantastic. You should work with Sarah and see how you guys can combine. But Angela, we have a different topic for this episode. I got an important question for you. If I wanted to improve my mental health regarding asking for help, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
Yes, as a woman who came out of divorce, oftentimes our mental health is the biggest thing that we're going to struggle with. We are on our own now, and there are many things that perhaps your ex husband took care of for you. So, my piece of advice is to start with a list. Write down those things that he helped in that marriage so that you can start to build out your team of professionals that are going to help support you, that you are going to go ask for help in those categories so that you can learn, feel empowered, and then just start over again.
That is brilliant, Angela. Um, yeah, what a great idea. All right, make a list of everything that you didn't really do and then go fucking learn it. I think it's
Yeah.
easier said than done. It sounds so simple, but I mean, this happens not just women, it could be men too. Anytime you get out of a long term relationship, you kind of feel like, oh, I leaned on them after work stress, all these mental issues, intellectual, whatever it is. That's fascinating. Okay, Angela, where on your life journey did you learn this advice?
Yeah, I went through divorce a couple years ago, and you don't really realize what your partner does in the relationship when it comes to paying bills, looking at credit card statements. All of that money is really a mental health piece that you have to think about too. Because when you come out of that divorce and you kind of feel like, who am I? What am I supposed to be doing? What do I don't know? The mental health piece of that is huge, and it can be very draining on someone that comes out of a long-term relationship. So just start with some simple steps, which is just write it down, look at your list, and just tackle it one by one so it doesn't seem so overwhelming.
I love it. Brilliant. Awesome, Angela. Well, thank you for your piece of advice. We're going to move on to our next guest, and we'll bring you out for what I expect to be a very exciting round robin. Next up, we have Julie. Thank you, Angela. Julie, tell us, who are you? I think you're muted.
Thanks.
Julie,
Okay.
tell us, who are you?
I am Julie DeMar, and I'm simply wonderfully made to be put from a personal perspective. And professionally, I apply that to helping other women and men understand that they are wonderfully made and the things that they've experienced in life are not to define who they are. So
I love it. I love
that's
it.
what I
All
do.
right, Julie, I've got a pretty important question for you. If I wanted to improve my mental health regarding asking for help, what piece of advice would you give me?
Find a safe community. Because a lot of why we don't ask for help is because when we have asked for help in the past, it's been either shut down, gossiped about, or the list goes on. So please find a safe and healthy community where when you ask for help, that help is actually given
Okay. Given without strings attached?
without gossip, without strings attached, without all the what. Like
So we'll talk about that. I feel like I'm sure Andrea and Angela have more to say about that. Um, Yeah, asking for the right kind of help, when and where. We got a lot to talk about. Julie, tell me where on your life journey you learned this advice.
Experience, because I am a person who endured childhood trauma and all the things that came with that as an adult. And I learned very quickly that I was asking for help in all the wrong places. And all that was doing was enabling me straight into hyper independence. So once I found where I can be safe in asking for help, I found where I can heal.
I love it. Awesome, Julie. Thank you so much. We are going to move on to our next guest and bring you out in the round robin here. Next up, we have Andrea. Andrea, tell us, who are you?
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you, Austin. Awesome being here again. My name is Andrea Mason. I am the founder of Press Play Plan Life According to You, LLC, where I help individuals go from victim to victorious. I'm a transformational life and legacy consultant where I help you identify the new AI, which has always been instilled in us, how to be authentically integral to achieve personal freedom through the healing power of forgiveness, go from victim to victorious, and go from invisible to invincible.
Victim to victorious, invisible to invincible. Well, that
Yes.
sounds like some really fun things. Andrea, I've got a very important question for you today. If I wanted to improve my mental health regarding asking for help, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
Yes. The tiny piece of advice I have individuals do to ask for help is don't worry about asking who to ask, but know what to ask. There's the right questions, and if we hadn't asked the right questions, we might not find the answers. First, look within, ask yourself the proper questions, and if you are unable to answer, connect with individuals who have achieved or are doing the results that you want to aim for and ask them the right way.
Fascinating. Okay, great, great. Where on your life journey did you learn that tip?
Yes. So, as a victim of abuse and bullying at every stage, at any age, I realized I was asking the questions for attention and not asking the right questions. I was asking what people wanted to hear, the people pleasing questions, rather than the
Fast.
actual questions I needed to know for myself without shame and with confidence.
All right, I'm going to follow up. So, how do we know what the right questions are?
We know what the right questions are is when we get nervous asking the questions and our emotional connections step in, our feelings, because we tend to get a little fearful. We ask the questions, and those are the ones that we've been hesitant and been holding back and suppressing all our lives. The right questions is when you get nervous and you ask, what is the result you want? And what is the strategy?
Fascinating. All right. Well, I think I know I told you guys before we were going to kind of rush through the one on ones because I think we have a lot to delve into here. So I'm going to bring everyone else out and we'll start the round robin. Audience, this is also a great time to ask questions as we will ask them out loud. So I guess let's just start real quick. Angela, can you quickly refresh what your tip was for us?
Yeah, so similar to Andrea, when it comes time to asking for help, write down what you don't know and start with that list. I wanted to make a comment as I was listening to both ladies. It's interesting that our topic today is ask for help, and all three of us have a traumatic background. So we didn't grow up asking for help. We probably all grew up thinking that we were just going to do it ourselves. We'll figure it out because we'd never learned to trust other people. So now here we are, all of us teaching others how to ask for help. I think that's pretty fascinating.
That is a very insightful point, Angela. Hmm. Okay, I'm just going to ask some questions. I feel like we talked. I think I might have screwed up and asked this beforehand a little bit, but when, man, I kind of like Julie's too. All right, let's just go with this. When should you do it yourself, and when should you ask for help? There, nice and general. We'll start with that.
Did you want me to go first?
This is open for anyone. Sure, yeah,
Okay.
you said something. Go
Can
ahead, Julie.
Okay, can you just repeat the question one more time for
Yeah,
me? Because
so
my thing.
so how can we tell when we should ask for help and when we should learn and do it ourselves?
Well, I'll speak from personal experience. I always knew that there was something going on, but again, I didn't really know where I was safe in asking for help. And I didn't, a main thing is I never had the language to ask for help, because one thing that I discovered is when you are in a position of being forced to do things on your own because you're not in safe places where you can ask for help, you don't know how to articulate what you're feeling and what your needs are. So even I couldn't write a list. Sometimes asking for help for me just looked like, help me, pray for me. Um, or even asking like, what did you do? How did you get there? That's pretty much all I had. But just getting curious in that way and being brave enough to even say that to one person helped with me finding the right connections to continue to move along in this healing process.
Anyone else want to comment?
I agree. I believe, as Julie had mentioned, it is about a safe space. I grew up in a healthy home, but outside of my home, it was a completely different environment where I felt that I had to be the best version of myself, even when I felt insubordinate, insufficient, and inadequate. And so when I was asking for help, I was fearful, the mindset that I wasn't smart. I was the student that raised your hand all the time asking for questions, and I would get the side eyes from my fellow peers. How do you not get it? How do you not understand? And I realized that I was different. So in order for you to understand, to learn how to ask for help, is first have awareness, if you can at all, what is it that you're looking for? What don't you understand, and why don't you understand it? That sounds complex, but what is about the information you're looking or researching that you don't understand? And as mentioned before, find someone who's doing that or has the solution already and go to them. Vulnerability, as Angela had said, is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength.
Okay, you guys talked about a safe space. How do I know I'm in a safe space or not in a safe space? What are some factors I can tell with?
Yeah, for me personally, when it comes to a safe space, what you feel internally is going to tell you a lot, and you want to listen to that. If I'm feeling anxious or concerned, then that's not going to be a safe place for me. And whatever that situation is drawing from a past experience, and I can understand that. But when you're looking for that safe space to be able to ask those questions or to ask for help, oftentimes don't be afraid to pay for that opportunity too, because when we talk about looking for someone to ask questions for, and you look at your inner circle or the people around you and you don't feel safe asking questions or asking for help with those people, then sometimes you're going to go outside of that, and you're going to pay to be able to get to those people that you are going to feel safe and ask questions to and get the help that you need on whatever it is that you're dealing with at that time.
How did you guys find your safe spaces?
I found myself in a safe space when I realized that people were not only supporting me through my fears, but consoling me with my tears and celebrating me with my wins. A safe space is not one sided, it's a symbiotic relationship, and effective communication and listening are prominent in that safe space. Understanding each other's areas of improvement and skill set, and to be yourself. Authenticity is slowly getting diminished. We don't know who we are. And until we embrace who we are and feel comfortable in our own skin, and you have like-minded individuals who can share that, to me, that's a sign of a safe space.
I agree with that. I found a safe space when I found a place of no judgment. When I found a place of a few things: no judgment, encouraging me to grow, and also someone who was willing to help me be accountable.
Yes.
Those things are very necessary when you're looking for safe spaces, but when you're also looking for opportunities to grow individually. You have to have a a person or a community of people who are there to not only say, hey, I understand that you're hurting and I'm not going to judge you and I'm going to have compassion and grace for you, but also I'm going to help you where you need to be accountable in this as well. So that's where I found my safe space.
All right, we're going to take this question from the audience. When not to ask for help? And we kind of went over this earlier, but let's delve a little more back into it. Is there such thing as asking too much for help? Or, at some point, when is it okay for your safe space to tell you, no, you don't get any help? Go do it yourself.
I would
You ladies
say
want to go?
yeah, I would say when not to ask for help. I would say if you, I'm an accountability coach as well, as Julie said, that if you're not applying the recommendations, the exercises, or the advice given to the one you're seeking the help from. There's a time when we become a student, a teacher, then a master, and then it repeats the cycle again. And then it's when not to ask for help is to kind of realize, as Julie had mentioned, as well as Angela, we're not being accountable. We're not applying it. You can ask and ask and ask. And then when is it to, okay, let me see what I've learned based on the experience. Let me see what I've learned in this lesson or loss. What was the takeaway? And if you're not producing those results or those responses, then maybe press pause and reflect and see, what have I tried already? What have I utilized? What have I exhausted already? And go within, as both ladies had mentioned, the intuition, and then say, let me figure this out on my own. Because we all have the answers within. It's just a matter of timing, experience, confidence, and pace of when it presents itself.
Yeah, and I'll take this from a money perspective on both sides. For example, if you continue to ask for help to pay bills or you're running out of money, then perhaps, especially with someone that you feel safe having this conversation with, and you're talking to them about, I just don't feel like I have enough money to live my life. Well, instead of asking for the constant handout of the money to pay the bills, what can I do differently? How do I change myself? How do I change the version of me where I can get to a place where I don't need to ask for help anymore? And so from both perspectives, if the person's asking me, then they feel safe, asking me for help, I can sit down with them and say, let's look at your current situation. What can I do to teach you so that you don't have to ask for help anymore? Because I'm sure we get to a point where we feel like we're asking too much help, or we're not good enough, or something we're doing is failing. Those are awful things for us to say to ourselves. But if we continue to ask for help, sometimes that's the internal conversation that's going on. So now, how do I ask that person to help teach me so that I don't have to continue to ask for that type of help anymore?
Yeah, that's a great question. Help teach me. I feel like that's, yeah. I feel like that's a hard, we're crossing into, 20 different topics, but we're moving on to, so I'm asking you, hey, Angela, can I get $50? I'm short on rent. Hey, can I get $100? I need to pay my cell phone bill. And I find if that happens like every month, obviously the first month, most people, depending on your relationship, are gonna say, here's your $50, like, go pay rent. And then the second month, you're like, what, again? What's going on here? And I feel like a lot of people that are willing to ask for help with rent 2, 3, 4 months in a row are the people that don't really want to go get help and figure that out. And I've definitely lost relationships with people that have asked me for money multiple times, and I kind of have a policy. Like the first time, if it's like $50, sure, you can borrow it. I don't expect to see it back. But after that, I don't give out loans, but I can teach you thousands of ways and things and all this kind of stuff. So then that kind of gets back into this, like, so we got to have a safe space to ask for help, right? And at some point, we can't really ask the same type of help multiple times over and over, right? Like, I mean, what do you guys say? Like 3 times of asking for help with money is, and that's what the it, or how do we define that? How do we find out when it's okay to ask for help, when you should be self-aware that the help you're asking for you could solve yourself? I think those are kind of the questions we're looking at. Oh my gosh, we've got so many comments from the audience. Okay, well, if anyone wants to comment on that, we'll get the next questions lined up.
Yeah, I think, as all three of us, if based on our stories, it's not about the constant asking for help, but it's when we feel confident to actually ask for help. Then it's just like, it's kind of like, oh my goodness, somebody's willing to help me. And so you kind of go into that regression of nobody ever asking you, you're not having the confidence to ask for help, and now you want more, but you also have to be mindful of when is too much. In other words, you had said, when is it 3 times? Is it 2 times? Is it 1 time? And that goes with effective communication amongst who's asking for the help. As Angela said, let's go to a point where, I can teach you. And then also, as Julie had mentioned, the accountability component. All right, I'm here to walk beside you, not judge you, not ridicule you. But at the same token, hey, we've been kind of remind them where they're at. But then, why people fear asking for help is judgment, vulnerability, sign of weakness. And oh my goodness, they perceive me in a different light, especially if they are doing well in some sort of industry or role within their family, and all of a sudden it's not exactly as the people assumed it was, if that makes sense.
I have something to piggyback on that too. I know rejection is a big reason why people don't ask for help as well. Fear of rejection. A lot of the things that we've been discussing today are rooted in fear. Fear is the springboard for so many disasters. And that is something that I just want to point out. You're afraid to ask for help because of ABC. So it is a big thing to just ask why. Why am I afraid of this? Because then when you ask why, then you start going down the rabbit hole into your life. I'm afraid to ask for help because I have been judged. I'm afraid to ask for help because I have been rejected. I am afraid to ask for help because I have been gossiped about. And the list goes on and on and on. And then that, like we talk, I just feel like we can be here forever. Because then it's like once you start tackling those things and resolving those things, then because it's like, how do I get confident? Like I've heard confidence mentioned so many times, and it's like, how do I get confident? Well, I resolve the things that prevent me from achieving confidence and then executing the bravery that comes along with that. So I think that, like, get curious, ask questions. If you don't have the language, just say why? Why am I afraid?
Right. Absolutely.
So
it's usually like 7 times.
Yeah.
We laugh, but I mean, that's accurate. All right, let's move on to a comment here. I think I'm falling apart, but really, he hadn't slept in 2 days. He lives on iced coffee and hasn't seen the sun all week. He didn't need therapy. He needed a sandwich and a walk. So that kind of ties into the what type of help, this and that. Anyone want to comment on that? And that's, I mean, I feel like that's actually pretty realistic too.
When we fail to ask for help, we think that we have all the answers. When we fail to ask our belief system or our support system, we're fearful it may not be the answer we want to hear or prepared that we want to hear. So if we're falling apart, then, as my mentor and coach and friend, Les Brown says, hit rock bottom, land on your back, because if you could look up, you could get up. And as far as asking for help, falling apart is kind of, in one way, in the mental health component, that you don't have to do it all. We're not here to live this life by ourselves. But at the other component, again, when you ask for help, see who is doing what you're wanting to do, not to mirror, not to admire them, but to kind of find new strategies. As you said, Austin, many different ways. Four of us here have different ways to be confident, different ways to hold ourselves accountable. You just have to figure out, while asking for help, what suits you. Everything is not cookie cutter. We're all individuals and unique. So what feels right and what suits us and is adaptable at that time, that will help you build back your strength and confidence and build you back up.
Yes. And when I hear that phrase, I think I'm falling apart. It's typically from someone who feels like they're out of control or they've lost control of a situation. And so we take a step back and think about the situation that's at hand, and perhaps understanding, one, we can't control anything outside of ourselves. That's not our job. That's not something that we can do or should we focus on. So what can we control? It's the attitude in the situation, how we're approaching things. And then getting to a point where if there is something that you're dealing with in your environment, yes, asking for help can be extremely scary, but the opposite effect of staying stuck, staying in that emotion is not going to be healthy for you either. And I love how it says, you needed a sandwich and a walk. For me, when I'm in a situation where I'm feeling like I might need some help, I do go take a walk because it gives me an opportunity to have quiet time with myself to understand what's going on right now. Why am I feeling this way? What is it that I need help with? And now, who in my world can I ask for that help?
I think that's actually a simple, brilliant piece of advice. You're struggling, in any aspect of health, spiritually, physically, financially, whatever. And you're like, I should ask for help. I have a safe space. I have, my 10 closest friends. I could go ask them, hey, pray for me. Hey, give me $50. Hey, keep me on my diet, whatever it is. But I think, yeah, going and taking a walk and actually thinking about, do I need to ask for help? Do I need to just let them know what's going on? Can I get myself out of this? I think a lot of those answers can be solved in a 15-minute walk.
And
Am I
also
being
ask
the
yourself,
whiny
what if I
friend that
don't?
always asks for help?
Yeah. And ask yourself, what if I don't ask for help? What's going to happen? If I keep repeating the process, what is going to happen? Or what is the result if I keep going down this path?
Right. Yeah, because, a $50 one-time loan or gift for rent saves you from the late fees. Okay, cool. But doing it multiple times now makes you the friend that is a mooch, I guess some might call. Fascinating. Oh man, I knew this was going to take a long time. All right, anything you guys want to add before we move on to our daily challenge? Any last comments?
Good.
No, I think we're good.
All right. Well, that brings us to our part of the show where we have to come up with a daily challenge. This is a task and or series of tasks that help us improve our mental health regarding asking for help. It must take less than 5 minutes a day, cost $0, and be available to anyone in the world from Madagascar to Indonesia. What thoughts do you guys have?
I'll go first on this one. And it's understanding your personality. I am definitely a write it down type of person. I do very well with task lists. It helps me take big situations and break them down into tiny pieces, which really helps me mentally feel like I'm in control of whatever it is that I'm tackling at that moment. So write it down, break it into steps, and just take it one at a time and figure out which of those steps that you definitely need to ask for help for when you're dealing with a situation.
So when you in the morning or at night, you can do it for the day before, whatever. So essentially, think of like a problem you had that day that you maybe wanted to ask for help. And okay, so think of a problem for that day. So it could be nice and small, and write it down. And what was the next step you had?
Breaking it down into tiny steps. So it could be a big problem, a medium problem, it could be a small problem, but make it into smaller steps so that it's easier for you to tackle each of those steps individually. and then ask for help, because you may not need help on the big piece of it, but smaller components. And it could be asking help from different people of those components too. But when you break it down into smaller steps, it just allows for your brain to understand that I'm going to be asking for help, but it may not be a huge ask. It could just be a tiny piece of what I'm dealing with.
That makes me just delegation. CEOs can just be like, here's where we want to be, break it into these little steps, and assign them to their departments. Sorry, that was very businessy, but I like it. Great advice. Anyone else have anything else to add? So write down your problem, break it into steps, and maybe you don't need help on all the steps. Maybe only like 2 or 3 of them, and you can send those out, get help, and come back. And it's also easier to ask for smaller bits of help. It could be like, hey, can you help teach my kid math? But now if you break it down to like, hey, can you just teach my kid 5 times 5? It's a lot more likely that someone's going to say, yeah, I can teach them what 5 times 5 is versus I can teach them all of math. So that would make asking for help a lot easier. Any other additions to our daily challenge? Does anyone know the EFT, emotional freedom technique, a tapping solution? Anyone familiar with that?
Tapping into different points, I believe, if that sounds familiar. I believe it's like certain pressure points on the body of tapping tones.
I use that when I fly because I get super nervous about flying, and using the tapping technique helps reprogram the brain to concentrate on something else. I don't know if that's what Michael's talking about, but I definitely use that technique.
Yeah.
So maybe we think of a problem that we wanted to ask for help, and then tap. Michael, can you enlighten us a little bit more? But maybe we think of the problem, and then tapping helps us like calm our nervous system. Am I getting that correctly?
You could be something like this with your fingers, tapping your chest, just making sure, and it kind of relaxes. Wow, that's a long answer.
Oh, here we go. Okay. All right. The tapping solution, I'm not going to put this on the screen, it's too long. Tapping solution refers to techniques that combine modern psychology with ancient Chinese acupressure. Okay, sounds right. By tapping on meridian points while focusing on a specific stressor or negative emotion. So that would be like, maybe asking for help or a problem you have. Tapping is designed to calm the amygdala, reduce the body's stress response, and rewire the brain to alleviate issues like anxiety, fear, and physical pain. It offers a self-help technique to release negative feelings, restore energetic balance, and foster greater sense. I'm going to put it up just for a second or two. Can we even fit that? We can't. I guess it cuts it off. But there's a little bit. Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. Okay, so when we're thinking of our problem, we're going to write it down and break it up and do some tapping too, right?
I want to be careful with repeating this because I don't know if I said it here before, so I don't want it to be overstated, but I do want it to be something that's helpful. And I call it the morning check-in. It takes 5 minutes. It's as soon as you wake up in the day, you ask yourself, how do I feel? What do I need? And based on what you're feeling and what you need, you write down 3 things to make your day easier. So if that is today, I'm feeling overwhelmed, maybe overbooked, maybe, there's a lot going on. Today, I need to reduce some of my responsibilities so that I don't continue to feel overwhelmed. So then that's where you can then write down the 3 things where you need help. Maybe you need to rearrange your task for the day. Maybe you need to call into work. Maybe you need a nap. But when you ask yourself first, hey, how do I feel? What do I need? And what can I do to resolve these feelings and to meet those needs? That is another way of asking for help, because you're taking care of yourself in those moments. And it only takes 5 minutes. I do it every single day. And there are days where I wake up and I say, you know what? I'm canceling and I'm taking a nap. The kids are at school and I'm going to live my best life. And you know what? I'm a better mom. I'm a better wife. I'm a better coach. I'm a better podcaster and all the things for that.
I love it. Awesome. Okay. Well, I think that is a really solid daily challenge. Think of a problem you had that day. Use the tapping and write it down. Break it down into steps. In the morning, ask yourself how you feel and what you need. write down 3 things you need help for, and so you can kind of combine those if you'd like, and then rearrange or take a nap or whatever it is to help you throughout your day. All right, this is going to be a good one. I like the writing down the 3 things too, because it's almost like taking the problem and breaking it up, but it also helps with like self-help. So do I really need to ask for help, or can I just rearrange my schedule? Do I need to ask for help, or can I just take a quick nap? All these kind of solutions that make it so you're not always asking for help, and you can help yourself as much as possible. Fantastic. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming out. I'm going to put you guys backstage and wrap up the show. Thank you, Andrea and Angela and Julie. And thank you to everyone watching. Fantastic questions. Thank you so much for helping us out. Daily challenge, I just repeated it. It's going to be a good one. I highly suggest you join us in doing it. And real quick, I got yelled at. I forgot in the pre-show, but we did just hit number 103 on Apple Podcasts. So thank you guys so much for, I don't really know how their algorithm works, but I guess downloads or subscribers or something like that. Huge thank you for putting Millionaires Are Made at 103. That was a really, really cool thing to wake up to yesterday. So thank you guys for watching, and please don't forget, we will be back next week.